Sorry, guys.
No, that's great, Cam. I'm glad you're back.
Christmas packages
Oh, I'm
came
glad.
in and everything.
I'm glad you're back.
I've
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
been so happy to see you, Cam.
Your timing's pretty good because we're just about to review the Mandalorian season 2 finale.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Yeah. So, this is The Rescue, directed by Peyton Reed. So, I think the first thing we're going to talk about is just our non-spoiler reactions to this episode, kind of our first overall thoughts about this episode. So, we usually we like to start with our guests, and I'm seeing Cam at the top of my screen right now. So let's go with Cam, and then Matt, and then we'll kind of go through our overall reactions.
All right. Oh man. I think I said this. I don't know anyway, I don't usually cry during anything, and I definitely got teared up at the end of this one. Um I think it was awesome. I mean, the thing right off the gate, it started out with action, space, they're in pursuit. Y- I think just in general with the Mandalorian, what I like is uh, I know there's that one episode, the Frog Lady episode with the spiders. Everybody's like, "Oh, it's kind of filler or this or that." I
Directed by
disagree,
Peyton
but
Reed also.
really,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't realize that. Okay,
Me
but
neither.
huh. Anyway, I just I feel like even that episode, every episode, it's like they haven't wasted time. Like it's like okay, here's where they leave us with a question. They pick right up next episode. And I love that. And I think it's because they're laying it out as a complete story. I think each season really should be watched back to back, not as individual episodes. And I think then you have those filler episodes that don't seem like filler if you watch it that way. But anyway, that's
I said that about the
alongside.
first season too. It always fits better
Yeah.
when it's one long story. It's not.
Yep. And you can say the same
Yep.
for each season. It's like, okay, now you've got to watch season 1 and 2 together because that's,
Right.
and I totally trust Dave and John and where they're going with this. So I don't ever get upset with choices they've made because every like piece of fabric that their characters are wearing down to every piece of dialogue, every music cue is intentional. And so anyway, I just all that to say, then they jump right into the action. It's like they don't waste time getting to Moff Gideon, and it's like boom, there we go.
Right.
A few things that I loved just jumping through the episode. Are we doing spoilers here, or are we just
spoiler
just a
free
Not
for
yet.
right
Just
now,
kind
and
of.
then yeah.
Okay. So anyway, it hit all the marks. There's intensity throughout, and then the music, man, I started out the Mandalorian not caring for the music at all. I think we talked about this before. And now I'm just like actually last night I went to sleep listening to the soundtrack, cuz I'm just like this is just it is awesome. And just that alone the music made it. And there's one cue we'll talk about later that I think was saved for this moment, and it it was even that was very intentional. But yeah, so from the music to the visuals to the building of tension and the way they used all the characters, um, it was my favorite episode. So there we go.
Favorite
Fantastic.
episode overall of 2 seasons, or favorite
Um,
episode?
oh, that's tough. I think so far, this season. I'm trying to think back last season. I don't know. It's hard to beat the reveal. Um, I don't know. I don't even like. I shouldn't have even said favorite. Right now, it's my favorite because it's the last one I saw.
Freudian
But
slip. All right, that's fine.
yeah, it's up there. It's up there.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, it hit all the check boxes for me.
Nice.
Definitely. Matt, what were your thoughts on this episode?
I agree with everything Cam said. Um, like I said earlier, this episode was probably my favorite as far as visually goes. I thought it was visually stunning. Every single aspect of it from start to finish. I thought it looked amazing. Um, it really solidified that Mando was a man on a mission. He was going to stop at nothing to be able to get get his child back. And the when help came at the end, I looked over to Tanya my wife, and I said something awesome is about to happen, because I knew I didn't know what was going to happen, but at that point I knew something awesome was going to happen, and I was not wrong. Um, so without saying anything else, that was my overall reactions of the episode.
Yeah, it's just kind of
Adam.
it was just kind of jaw dropping for me, and it was like one of these episodes that you could tell immediately after everyone had finished watching it. You didn't have to ask anybody because we were getting messages in our Discord server. I was getting texts. I was and it was usually something like "dude" with multiple U's or "wow" with multiple O's. It was the same type of
I
message
wonder who
over
sent
and
you the
over again.
dude.
That was you. And it was just the same type of message over, and it was super easy to figure out after someone finished watching it, just because the reaction was all the same. From my perspective and seeing what happened with the people that I've surrounded myself with, and there was a lot of fun in that respect because it was just people just blown away by this one episode and just enjoying the heck out of it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very similar to you guys for the most part. I mean, I think what I really loved about this episode, and I think going back to what Cam said about now viewing it as a both season one and season two together, and it almost makes for an almost complete story putting season one and season two together. And
Yeah.
I feel like we're going into maybe new territory going forward, but still probably continuing what we've seen in seasons one and two. But I like that it tells this kind of almost complete story that you could kind of walk away from and be okay. He completed his mission in a way. And I loved every bit of it. I loved that a lot of things that I wanted to happen in this episode happened. A lot of things that I was hoping for that I had talked about previously, those things happened. And then the one thing at the end, while initially it kind of pulled me out of it and was a bit jarring, which we'll talk about when we talk about spoilers. Um, the second time I saw it, it didn't bother me as much. I will say that, but I love the episode. Because we are kind of dancing around our spoilers, let's hit the spoiler warning. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into our some spoilers with our bantha fodder and our jetpacks. So jetpacks are our highs of this episode, and bantha fodder would be any lows, any negatives you had. So let's start with some positives though, and we can just kind of go around anything that really stood out to you that was a positive. It can be a spoiler at this point. Cam, let's start with you.
Oh, oh man, this is tough. I I enjoyed I liked the Dark Troopers. I liked well, and I've liked this throughout the Mandalorian how he's and I felt like this episode didn't necessarily like it seemed like it was pretty much the good guys had the upper hand for most of it, which I'm fine with. We knew right from the get go it's called the rescue, so it's like okay, this is like once again if you watch the whole thing through when you get to the last 30 minutes, it's like that's fine. They're finishing it up. Of course they're going to have the upper hand. You know, if but I love the Dark Troopers that were Din, like he doesn't always just succeed right away. Like he's like the guy's bashing his head in. It's like
Yeah, that
he's
was.
probably going to have a concussion or two after that.
I thought he was dead.
Um,
Honestly, I
yeah,
thought he was dead.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I was
I
like,
don't know how he
wow.
survived
I
that.
was worried.
I
It's
was
just I want some Beskar is all I'm saying.
my initial reaction as I'm watching it the first time is like, they just killed Din.
Yeah.
Like I honestly didn't think he was
Mhm.
coming out of that.
It just kept going and going. It's like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
And although like they're gonna win in the end, it's like at that moment I had that feeling of how in the world are they gonna, survive these dark troopers? I mean, this guy is like intense, and this is just one of them.
Dark Troopers are
But then
terrifying, and I
Yeah.
hope we see something more of them.
Yeah.
I don't know how we would, but I hope there's
Yeah.
something more with Dark Troopers later.
Yeah. Well, maybe that was just one ship of them or something. Who
I
knows?
hope so. Yeah.
I hope. But then when he pulls the little airlock, that was awesome. But then I
Mhm.
also was kind of like, oh, that was a little too easy, and I didn't even didn't think, oh wait, they're not human, so they can just You
Right,
know,
right.
they can just show right back up. But I thought that was an awesome way to kind of be like, oh, they're out of the way, out of sight, out of mind.
Or they could just be a
So
bunch of Leias and just it doesn't matter.
yeah, that's true. Yep. They can just float around.
Oh boy. Had to do
Sorry.
it, didn't you? You had to bring Leia Poppins into this.
I'm sorry.
Cam, did you have any more positives that you wanted to talk about?
Oh, I've got a ton of them, but I didn't know if we're doing a bunch now or just.
Maybe we'll just do one
uh,
maybe we'll do one at a time then, yeah. Matt, how about you?
Um, well, I knew it's at some point Moff Gideon was going to use his dark saber in this episode, because uh, what's his name, Giancarlo Esposito,
Yeah.
Mhm.
had spoken in an interview before about how much fun he had training to fight with a lightsaber, and we haven't really seen that at all this season. Um, so I wasn't quite sure how that fight would turn out to be, but I thoroughly enjoyed the battle between him and Mando. Um, really seeing how well Vaskar can protect you. And then the little points of whenever he was using a spear, and the dark saber was um, held up against it, you can see the Vaskar um, lighting up and turning red, really heating up. That was a very small detail, but that was one. Weirdly enough, the one of the smallest details is one of the ones I enjoyed the most. Just showing the friction between those two, how the Vaskar couldn't be uh, damaged in that fight, but it was still being highly tested. So I'd say that fight was one of my higher points.
I'll piggyback on that and
Yeah, I
just
think
say
it was a
that.
great
Go ahead.
duel.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Josh.
I was just gonna say some of the moves Mando pulled in that duel
Yeah,
were
that's what I
pretty
was gonna say.
slick.
Yeah. Yeah, I
That
was gonna
was
say the whole
really
thing
cool
was
stuff.
choreographed really well when he kind of kicks his spear and then brings it up about on his shoulder to block the next hit. That was pretty slick. Yeah.
Yeah, and Adam, did you have one that you wanted to share that was kind of standing out to you?
I mean, well, like Cam said, there's a lot of high points in this episode. I think saving the Jedi for when he did come in and then not revealing him right away and just kind of almost just goading you on for a little bit. You know, is this really who I think this is? You know, you get the X-wing flying in, and at that point, I was watching it in the morning. I'm kind of working also because I start work pretty early, and usually on Fridays I turn it on while I'm working a little bit. So I hear X-wing, and I'm like, no, no, it's not. And then you see the black cloak coming out. I'm like, okay, that's okay. Black cloak could be anybody. Then you see the green lightsaber, and I'm like, man, this is some elaborate misdirection right now.
Right.
And then
You're
you see
thinking,
the
"Oh, no,
yeah, and then I see the glove, and I'm like, holy crap, it really is,
And then he does like the fist squeeze, with the
Yeah,
final.
yeah.
It's like, oh man, okay.
Just the way all that was like sequentially done. You just get these extra little bits before you actually know or before you actually see, and that was the build up and seeing the X-wing up until you see, let's just say, Luke's face. That was incredible.
It got and
Yeah,
it.
wow. Mm.
No, it was
I'm
awesome.
sorry. I 100% agree. It was great. And I think the whole time that we were watching it last night, Adam, I was like kind of narrating what was happening as if anybody needed my narration. Like, oh, that's an X-wing. Oh, that's a green lightsaber. Like as if you guys couldn't see that happening on the screen, but I was so excited. And I love the way they played that suspense out. And because
Yeah.
I thought it was maybe misdirection until we actually got the reveal. So, and Cam, I apologize. I cut you off there. So Go ahead.
Oh no, it's fine. I was just gonna say same like they got me because at first when she's like, it's just one X-Wing, that'll really help, that'll do a lot of good or whatever.
Mhm.
And then my first reaction, I went through probably in 5 seconds in my head, I went through all of this, it's like, oh well, they're gonna show up with a whole crew. And then right when I thought that, then I'm like, no, wait a minute, a single X-Wing? No way. And then and then it's like,
Mhm.
wait, but who would, did they really do that? And then you, like you said, then you go
Yeah.
through the whole process, and I'm doubting it all the way up till the hood, until that comes off.
Yeah, for
It's
me it
like,
was the
yeah,
glove. The glove was
yeah,
the
right.
Mhm.
glove for me was what cemented it. And up until then, I was like, "Wow, this is just trolling for for a while," and it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was genuine, and I was shocked, absolutely shocked.
Yeah. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by it. And um to go along with that before I give my first positive, is just the connection when Luke was arriving, the connection between Grogu and Luke, and the way that he could feel Luke's presence really struck me. And I thought it was just maybe a little thing, but it really, like, it just hit me in the feels when he was connecting to him in that way, because the whole episode Grogu is just kind of out for the count. He's drained. um they've taken his blood, or midichlorians or whatever, and but then he just kind of awakens when Luke arrives. So
It was
I
great.
I really liked that. Yeah. And my jetpack that came to my mind, actually, I really enjoyed the plan that they had. The plan to infiltrate the ship, to use Boba Fett as kind of this distraction that he's kind of fake shooting at them, and then the way they landed in there, and just the plan for basically the girl squad that, as my wife named them, kind of infiltrated and were a distraction, so that Mando could get the child, kind of secretly. Um, and so I just like the whole way that plan played out.
And I'll just say that the girl squad, for being a distraction, was kicking some serious butt, and that was a lot
Yeah,
of fun.
for sure.
Fennec Shand
Hmm.
and
Yep.
Cara Dune, the whole, and then Bo-Katan and Costco Reeves, they were just going ham on everybody, and it was so much great action out of all four of those.
It
I
was
love
great. We
the
got another
flanking move that they pulled there,
The
where
the
they kind
jetpack
of
flanking move,
came up to
oh
the
yeah,
side. Yeah, yeah, the
yeah,
jetpack flanking move.
yeah.
it was great. And we got another skank in the scud pie, which was
So,
great.
what'd you think of all the slang? What'd you think of, like, the skank and the scud pies? We got more dank ferrix. We got some other ones there.
Yeah, she said something. I forget what she. Son of a
Some of a mud scuffer.
mud scupper. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was fine. It was. I
Yep.
mean, it was obviously comedic. Comedic
yeah, yeah.
effect. I could have done without it or with it either way, but I think it's kind of funny.
I
But
really
yeah,
liked it. Yeah, I was a fan of those lines, and I kind of even wrote those down in my notes as one of my positives. Just kind of, Kara being the character that's kind of saying those things. I enjoyed that
Right.
for sure. Yeah. Cam, did you have another jetpack that we didn't talk about yet?
well, I guess what I referenced earlier with the music. I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong. Have we gotten the the Force theme up till now in any of the Mandalorian?
I
I can't
think we got a
recall.
small
We got a little bit of
snippet of it
Yoda's.
when
We
We
got
got
a
Yoda's
when
theme
Ahsoka
tiny
was
bit of Yoda's theme.
when
talking
she
about Yoda.
mentioned, yeah, but
Yeah,
but I don't
yeah,
recall
but
the
that's different from the Force
the
theme. Yeah.
ba da 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 da
Yeah.
because of course,
Hmm.
this was the first time that was used, at least to my knowledge. I could be totally wrong, because the first time through, I didn't even notice it being used, and then I even mentioned like I was surprised he didn't use it because at the very end he didn't use it. It was all original, but when Luke is
Hmm.
first
Right,
coming
right.
in and the shots of Grogu and all, they it comes in and it's just, again, it's one of those things you save it till that moment. And like I said, I didn't even notice it playing, but I think that's probably what contributed to my emotions during that time too, because you're just so used to, okay, a Jedi's coming in, the Force theme is playing, and then between that and the shots and all, and then just the music when they see each other and when he's leaving, and the you get closer and closer to Din's face and he's tearing up more and more.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, that
Hmm.
whole end sequence was just It was intense emotionally.
Yeah, my wife and I were both in tears watching that this morning next to each other. So it was definitely a tear-jerking moment, no
Yes.
doubt about it. Matt, did you have another jetpack that we haven't
Uh,
talked about?
yeah. So this is going to be kind of a minor one, and it might be more of a silly one too. But seeing Casca pull a tornado DDT on Boba Fett was muy
I
bueno
had
in my
that one in
book.
my notes
Yeah.
too. Yeah, there's like a WWE move in there. I loved it.
Yeah, I
That was awesome.
looked over at my wife as soon as that happened. I told her what move she just did, and she just kind of
Mhm.
rolled her eyes and continued watching the episode because she didn't care.
Yeah. That's a great one, Matt. I enjoyed that one too. Yeah.
That little fight at the beginning
Adam.
was pretty cool in general. So, sorry.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it really was.
no doubt.
There was a lot of great lore, I want to say, and we knew a lot of it, but uh, Gideon talking about the power of the dark saber. I actually love it because we talked about this a few weeks ago with Jess from Dark Saber Light. What's the with the dark saber, is there actually power in that blade? And he actually addressed that. He says there's not power in the sword, there's power in the story. Uh, talking about Bo-Katan's reluctance to take or refusal to take uh, the dark saber. After it was really after Din basically won it in his duel with Gideon. Um, the true power of that comes from not really the actual sword itself, but the story behind it. And I thought that how that was addressed, and you can expect something like that with a Dave Filoni story, but how that lore was addressed and tackled, I thought that was superb. And I
Yeah, I
really think
mean,
that Gideon go to that fight with Mando on purpose. You know, and because he's almost enjoying what happens with Bo-Katan and seeing her, find out that Mando won the saber and it's his now, and she can't have it without challenging him and defeating him, that type of stuff. And he's just enjoying that, and I think that was on purpose. I think that was intentional.
I think it's kind of also we
yeah.
see the tables turned like
Mhm.
when the first episode with Bo-Katan. Din is the one. She's like he's like, you can't take my helmet off, and she's the one kind of schooling him like, no, you can, that's ridiculous, and this and that. And now it's like he's like, just take the thing.
Yeah.
He's like, I yield, and she's just like,
Mhm.
she's in the same boat. Like, no, my
Good
code or
point.
honor or religion, whatever it
Yeah.
is, it keeps me from. It's like, are
Yeah.
you serious? Just take the take the blade.
Yeah, that's a
And
good
then
point. I didn't
Mhm.
think
and
about
that
that.
just points, yeah. And then
And
Moff
That
Din's
Gideon's
is.
just
almost like
That is a good point.
exasperated at this point. Like, just
yeah, right.
I
It's like,
yield
you're
then. Just
Mhm.
take it.
are you kidding me?
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't care about the blade,
Yeah, he's
and
been to
she's
38 different planets at this point, and
yeah.
it's like, now he's like arguing with her about taking the blade. It's like, I'm just done. Just take it.
Yeah. It's like, let's just have a fight. I'll let you win. That's what it takes.
I thought that quote was so interesting, Adam, about the dark saber doesn't have power, the story does, and
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
the thought of the Mandalorian culture being they want a leader who is powerful, who has kind of gone through the fight and been victorious, and that when we look back to the Clone Wars and Rebels and things like that, we see what their culture is all about, and I think that quote kind of embodies their culture in a way. So I got a lot out of that as well. And I think if I had another jetpack, it would probably be just seeing R2 again, seeing R2 with Luke and all the final shots of just Luke with R2 and with Grogu in that elevator and just that shot. I just loved it, and seeing R2 back was definitely a jetpack for me.
Yeah, that's something I mentioned too. I'm like, you see everybody in a roundabout way, except for the spoiler people. um, talking about Luke, but I'm like, I was almost more excited when R2 rolls in.
Hmm.
Just being he's my one of my favorite droids, and just it just kind of and he's the one who kind of calmed Grogu down, or kind of like made him feel more comfortable. And that's when he started coming
Yep.
towards him. And I almost wonder, like, did he know R2 like in the Jedi Temple, back on Coruscant? I mean, because R2 would have been around.
Hmm.
He wouldn't have recognized,
Yep.
obviously, he wouldn't have known Luke, but maybe there was a familiarity and they were talk he was like, "Hey, it's me, I remember you," or something. I don't know. I kind of took it that way. Like maybe because then R2 kind of after they Grogu kind of makes some little sound, and then R2 like, he's like happy, and they're kind of he kind of calms things down. So
It's interesting. I hadn't thought of that
Yeah,
either.
yeah, he did have that calming
Right.
effect on him
Mhm.
though, and everything for sure. And I think I like the idea of maybe they knew each other before. Who knows? Um, Matt, did you have any other positives?
Um, I don't know if it's necessarily a positive, but I was pretty. I guess it was a positive. I was happy at the end whenever Din took off his helmet to uh, show his face to Grogu for
oh, yeah.
the first and last
Hmm.
time combined. Um,
Yep.
to me, it felt like he took this father role more seriously than he ever took his role as part of his guild, because he clearly broke their number one rule. You don't show your face to anybody, to be able to show his face to Grogu, to what I kind of feel like he believes is his job. So I felt like that was an extremely impactful moment.
Mhm.
Maybe up like the most impactful moment overall, emotionally for me, in the entire episode, to see that um, sacrifice, more or less a sacrifice, but also the trust that he had to do that for him.
That was great.
Yeah, I would
And I,
certainly agree. Hmm.
and just and also just noticing with Pedro Pascal the way he is playing the character, like he starts to smile a little, like he's like really playing that part where like that's probably the biggest smile he's ever made, or since he was a kid, a little side, and then he goes right back to the series. It's like just you could totally see the emotion, and then again the music that was happening at that time. It all came together.
Yeah, I'm really glad we got to see him without the mask, and just seeing that performance from Pedro Pascal, and being able to just use those facial expressions to act. And I think it was fantastic. Adam, do you have any final
I'm going to use
jetpacks?
one more here to kind of preface something coming up in a little bit, but I just loved seeing Luke being a full-on Jedi uh,
Hmm.
on screen. You know, because this is something like, I grew up with Luke in these video games. He's a Jedi Master. He's full-fledged Jedi Master. He's starting up a temple. He's doing this type of stuff. He's the books that I'm reading. He's still the hero. He's that type of thing. So I never really thought I'd get to see that on screen, and I did get to see that on screen. And so for that, I'm extremely happy. Extremely just you know floored that actually happened on screen.
I think there's probably a great many Star Wars fans that are pleased right now with that as well. I think you know so many people have wanted to see Luke ignite the green again, and just use the force in that way. And I think it was a great scene. And it even had some similarities, to the Rogue One Darth Vader scene a little bit. I saw somebody had mentioned, and kind of, and I thought that was interesting. Um, Even though Luke chose the light side, and he's a Jedi, it just kind of echoed that moment a little bit.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but yeah,
No,
Awesome
I felt
stuff.
that through the whole scene. Like as soon as that started, as he's taking him out, and like this is Rogue One. But now we've got the green
Yeah.
lightsaber,
Right.
but the same idea, same effect.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah, I'd say one final thing I have that we hadn't talked about yet is they kind of and maybe they explained this before, but they kind of explained the tattoo, the tear
Oh,
um
yeah, that was
tattoo
interesting,
that
right?
the Cardoon has,
Mm-hmm.
that it is basically that tear is for Alderaan and for Alderaan being destroyed by the
Right.
Death Star, and that's what that's all about. And I didn't really realize that.
I didn't
So I
either.
thought that was
Yeah, I
cool.
didn't either. I think that was
Yeah.
the first explanation there.
hmm did anybody have any bantha fodder, any negatives? Go ahead and jump in, no
I'll
particular order
kick
if you
this
had
one
any negatives.
off.
hmm
The motion capture or the de aging, it was for me was not great. I didn't
hmm
love it. I don't love it in Rogue One with Tarkin and Leia. I don't love it here again. I almost wish Chuck Eubanks was actually right and that was Sebastian Stan.
Oh, when did he say
Yeah.
that?
You were gone.
Oh, you
You
were
were
gone
talking
for
to whoever was at the
that.
door, and Chuck Eubanks
Oh,
dropped
what
in.
today?
Yeah,
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh man.
it's interesting you
Oh
guys
my
weren't in the
gosh.
room at the same time, but I don't know.
That is
We'll hash that
interesting.
out.
I don't
We'll
know.
hash that out.
Yeah.
Coincidence.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah. So for me, the de aging wasn't great. I wish it was. I wish it was a full on live action, and I think if we do more with Luke, down the line in this, season 3 of this or whatever, I hope it's, maybe give Sebastian Stan a shot, because honestly, for me, it didn't even look that much like Luke. For me, it was still like, I actually, when he first takes off the hood, I'm like, wait, is that actually Sebastian Stan? Because it didn't look
Mhm.
exactly like Mark Hamill from '83 for some reason. It didn't even look like Mark Hamill from '83 plus 5 years for whatever reason. And even his voice, I'm not sure if they did some work to his voice, because that was Mark Hamill. He's credited, for that
Mhm.
role.
Mhm.
I don't know if they did something with his voice where maybe he's acting and then they're adding some type of modulation on top or something like that, where it didn't just quite sound like Mark Hamill either. I don't. It was a little bit off for me the whole way through. Even watching it a couple times, it was still kind of hard, and I don't know. So I think the part of this is that there's something that we're used to seeing out of a real life face or mouth or eyes that the computer graphics just aren't quite hitting, and for me, it takes me out of Rogue One. With Tarkin, it took me out of this just enough that it was awkward. So
Yeah, Adam, I think as far as the human face goes, I think it's one of the most identifiable things that we can see with our eyes. So if there's something slightly off with somebody's face, our brain is gonna detect it. Um, so I'm with you. I mean, this is what I mentioned earlier, that I was kind of pulled out of it. It was a bit jarring for me, seeing this de-aged Luke, and I would have preferred maybe a live action actor in there. I know they wanted to get it to look as close to Mark Hamill as they could, and so the second time I watched it, didn't bother me as much. But yeah, de-aging is always going to be a difficult thing to pull off. And if they do go forward with a live action Luke series or something like that, then they need to get in my opinion, a live action actor in there. So what about Matt and Cam? Did you guys have any reactions to Luke?
Well, I didn't have too big of a problem with it. I Rogue One, I didn't mind Tarkin as much. Leia, I thought was awful. I still can't watch the Leia. I don't know why, but
hmm
and even in Rise of Skywalker, I didn't think those were good either. And I heard people saying how good that was when they
yeah,
took their helmets off. I'm like, no, it's like a video game. I mean, it's really good
hmm
I'm
for a
kind of
video game,
with you
right?
there, especially with the Luke one. The Leia one I thought was a little bit better. I'm especially with you with the Luke, and like it looks better for me than this. But they're also kind of got the helmet, and I think they're kind of protecting some of
There's a lot
the
of shading,
Yeah,
and
shading,
the
they
helmet
do a
can
that
hide
lot.
I
that.
think that
Yeah.
helps, a little bit
And
there.
that, yeah, but it didn't. I will say when it first came on, I was kind of the same reaction, like, wait, is that Sebastian Stan? Because it
Right.
wasn't like, oh, that's Luke. I mean, I knew it was Luke. I knew that's who it was supposed to be. But then I'm going through the technical side of it. All right, so is this an actor or that they tried to I couldn't really tell. But then when he said the first word, what did he say? That's him, or I'm here for him. I don't whatever he said. It was like the last
Mhm.
syllable
His
was an
mouth
M,
wasn't just
and the
right.
mouth didn't close all
Yeah.
the way. It's like I'm here for him.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
like
it
his
wasn't
Yeah,
mouth
and
it
was
it's
wasn't
open. I'm
perfect,
like,
right.
and I actually stopped it and rewinded it, and I'm like, oh, and so that part was, and then I was just like, okay, just suspend disbelief and kind of squint a little during that scene, and,
Right.
I wasn't like mad about it. I thought
No,
it was
no.
great.
And like and
Mhm.
I wanted to preface that with what I said before, just because it's like I love to see it, and I don't want this to like overshadow like my negative feelings about the de-aging, to overshadow how overall I felt about seeing Luke again, because I
the
was
scene
still
it still
Mhm.
worked, character
yeah,
wise, plot
right.
Yeah.
wise.
Yeah.
And we watched it again last night with my wife, and we were, when I watch it in the mornings, I watch it on my iPad because everybody's sleeping. And so I'm like right up on it, but then watching it on the TV, which was a distance away, it didn't look as bad the second time. And so I
Mm.
think part of it is just, maybe watch it on an older TV or something, or like I
break out
said, squint or something.
break out
But
the CRT TV and
yeah,
480p.
everything looks good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wasn't upset with, like you said, it. I,
Right.
I love the plot choice and all that, but yeah. But then I also thought next season, if we're going to get more Grogu, we're going to have to get more Luke, and I can't see there
Mhm.
being. I mean, he was just standing still. The
Yeah.
parts we saw his face,
Right.
and so I don't. Yeah, they probably have to do something a little different, moving forward.
I am a little nervous about, and so like with Grogu being with him now, there's gonna have something has to happen, because I mean we
Mhm.
don't, nobody wants Grogu to die in Luke's temple, because we know that Luke's temple is doomed.
Yeah.
There's
Mhm.
not good things happening there in a few years. So we get into this thing where we're gonna have to either have Grogu dodge this again, for a second time, getting out of a temple alive, or something's gonna have to happen before that. Now, that was one of the reasons why I was lukewarm. I didn't mean that as a pun, but it is now. On Luke being the one to rescue them, being the Jedi. But that said, Cam mentioned earlier, you have full faith in Dave and John, and I do. Haven't let me down in this series yet.
Right.
I know that they're aware of this, and just have to let them tell their story.
Absolutely. Did anybody have any other negatives about this episode other than de-aging Luke?
I think that covers it for me. Like I say, it was mostly awesome,
Yeah.
great episode. Just
Mhm.
those couple things.
Agreed.
There's just one little
Um,
thing, and I don't even know if it was that bad. Just when the dark troopers opening the door, it seemed a little like stop motiony or kind of like jerky or something, kind of
mhm.
Yeah,
cheesy.
I
But
think
I
there
don't
was
know.
yeah.
Whatever. It's
I
really
I
not a
can
big
see
deal.
that. There's some talk about even the music around them just being a little dubstep, a little generic
Oh, I like
robot.
that though.
I didn't.
I kind of
I'm with
I
you. I
liked it
thought that
actually
was
too.
didn't
awesome.
mind it. Yeah, I actually
Mhm.
thought it was
And I think
good.
that was intentional because if you
Oh
notice,
yeah, for
and it
sure,
was
for
funny
sure.
because
Yeah.
when he says activate them, she literally is like pushing up like main volume knobs on a soundboard.
Yeah,
Is
sure.
basically all
Yep.
she's just
Mhm.
sliding. So it was almost like I don't know. I mean, it was comedic in a way, but I think it was. I was picturing like making a crazy video, like, oh look, she's sliding the knob up and have some crazy, DJ soundtrack come in. But then they did that anyway. So I'm like, oh, they already did the video I would have created. So,
Almost like a
but
Daft
I thought it
Punk
was
thing.
awesome. It gave them that electronic kind of
Yeah.
edgy, whatever.
No, I'm with you on that. And I mean, you can't really fault Ludwig for that either, because then he's taking direction from other people as well. And they're telling him,
Yeah.
we want, it would be really cool if we had this like a robot type music here. This theme for
Yeah.
these guys, and we want this to be kind of robotic, and that this is a Dark Trooper theme when you hear it. And so
Yeah.
I
loved
thought it was
thought
I thought it was cool. I actually, and I
Mhm.
also really kind of dug the original Luke music too. That that wasn't the Jedi theme. It was kind of original for Luke. I thought that was pretty cool stuff.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
We're back into jetpacks here, so I guess we full circle on that. So
Well, let's. There weren't too many negatives with this episode, but
no.
let's move into our suga for this episode, which are any of our Easter eggs or references. I'll just run through a few that I noticed really quickly, and then if you guys have any others, go ahead and chime in. The first one was the Imperial Shuttle, which is Lambda Shuttle. Which we see in the original trilogy, of course. I thought that was pretty cool. In the light cruiser, Moff Gideon's light cruiser, there was a RA-7, which is also known as a Death Star droid, I guess. So that I don't know if you guys noticed that kind of silver
Yeah, it was a
droid
silver
on
3PO
board
ish
the.
looking protocol droid.
Yeah, yeah. So I thought that droid looked kind of familiar. It wasn't exactly like a protocol droid, but it was pretty
No, right.
familiar. It was pretty similar. Um, and then of course the big one is we get Jabba's palace after the credits, and we get the reappearance of Bib Fortuna, who
Who's
was
on
Jabba's kind
Jabba's
of right
throne, which
hand.
I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, he was on Jabba's
He's taking over
throne,
the
and
throne.
he
Yeah,
even and he said McClunky.
yeah, he
Oh
tossed out
yeah,
McClunky.
that was
Um,
loud and clear too.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So those were the ones that I noticed. I don't know if you guys picked anything else out that I didn't.
No, for me that covers it for Easter eggs. I'm bad with
Mhm.
picking that stuff out on my
Not good
own.
with Easter eggs either. But
Yeah.
I saw someone post today. I guess the staff that Bib Fortuna had, he didn't have in Return of the Jedi, but evidently the toy, he did have it back in the day, and so he had like,
Oh,
I guess
interesting.
they,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked back into that, but I saw someone post
Mm.
that, like a picture of the toy from the 80s where he had some crazy staff, and they said that was the first time he actually had it in live action. So
Interesting.
I love
They,
what they're doing
Yeah,
with
it's
all of that anyway.
Dave and
Like they're
John did.
just
Yeah.
digging
Yeah.
deep.
Oh yeah.
with-
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
those
They.
details.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just got it down. Hmm.
Yeah, there's that meme of
Um,
them, yeah, of the two kids playing with like the '80s Star Wars toys, and
Yeah.
this is Dave and John, planning the Mandalorian, and that's
Mhm.
That's
basically
exactly
what it
what
is.
they're
Yeah.
doing.
Yep.
Yep.
But we got to talk about the
Fantastic.
Boba Fett stuff more, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, go for it.
So, is that an introduction for an original series? Is that what this is? I take it that way.
I think it's going to be a limited series separate
Mhm.
from The Mandalorian. That's my take on it.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think it's definitely separate. I don't. It seems like some people are confused, thinking it's the Mandalorian or
Season
some.
3,
The next.
right?
Yeah, but I'm like, no, 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 no. That's not
I
what it
don't think
was.
that either. That's not how
No,
I.
they saved.
Yeah.
They've already talked about having a Boba Fett series or movie or
Right,
whatever.
right.
For this has been in the works, but
This is how
I
you
think they
get.
saved it intentionally.
Sure, and this is how you get Boba out of the Mandalorian, so that he's not.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, this is
Mhm.
how he
If
gets
he
his
stayed around
exit.
too long.
Right.
Well,
Yep.
and I thought too, and my thoughts, and this is just what I would like to see is like the years that we don't have a Star Wars movie in theaters, like do a Disney Plus, movie.
That's
Mhm.
what I
Or
mentioned
a
to
longer.
Josh last night. Might this
Yeah.
be like a Disney Plus original movie, where it's not
That's what I
actually a
was
full
thinking.
Could be.
series, where
Right.
it's not even an Obi-Wan 4-part series. Maybe it's
Mhm.
something less than that, or maybe it's just an original film. You get a one-off 2-hour film. I don't know.
I would love that,
Yeah.
Mm.
That'd be cool. Mhm.
And they've already been
I
filmed.
like
I
it.
mean, they could have been picking up shots for this already,
Oh,
throughout.
sure, yeah.
I'm sure that they're on Tatooine for 2 episodes or an episode and a half. So,
Well, I mean, then the
um,
wonderful thing about the volume is when they want to
oh,
go back
right,
to Tatooine, they just load it back up,
yeah,
and it's ready to go.
Mhm.
And switch out some of the on-set stuff, and
yeah,
not like they don't have to fly
Yeah. Now
back
you
to
have
Tunisia or go
multiple.
out to Sahara or whatever. They can
yeah.
just
Right, and you have multiple volumes now too.
right.
So awesome. Anything else on Boba Fett? All
Nope.
right. Well, let's go ahead and give our scores for this episode out of 10 Beskar ingots. You can do halves as well. What would your score be out of 10 for this episode? Cam, let's start with you.
I'm gonna give it 9.5. Take a half off for the Luke's face. So
Hmm. Very good. Matt.
I'd have to go 9.5 as well, just to copy off of Cam.
Very
Yeah,
well. Very good.
9.5. Take a half
Adam.
point off for Cam's face or Luke's face. Yeah,
that's hurtful.
Yeah, I'm gonna round it out with a 9.5.
All
Episode was
right.
perfect, just aside from the jarring appearance of Luke, but it was still awesome
Right.
to see him back and ignite the green once more. So our last segment of this review is just any of our premonitions, force visions of next season, any predictions for what's going down in season 3. So anybody, if you're feeling it, just jump in and give your predictions.
so we watched this with a couple friends last night. Our one buddy, Brian, that I know doesn't listen to this, but I'll mention his name anyway. Um, and I think this is actually a great idea. But he said he thinks that there'll be a time jump this time in between seasons 2 and 3, where there really wasn't much of a one in between seasons 1 and 2. So time jump, I think, would let them, get Grogu some training at the temple. Let Din and maybe Bo-Katan kind of figure out what they're doing about Mandalore, or even maybe amass some people to their cause, rally some people to their cause, that type of thing. And then we can pick up with a story, reconnect Grogu and Din Djarin, maybe a little bit down the line, so we don't have to go through a few episodes of training and a few episodes of, going back and forth and finding Mandalorians again, that type of stuff. So I think a time jump is actually a really good idea for this series going into season 3.
Yeah, I heard that mentioned as
Yeah,
well. And
yeah.
oh, sorry. Go ahead for it.
Mhm. Oh no, I was just gonna say that I think that's a great idea, and I do think season 3 is really gonna heavily focus on Mandalore and reclaiming Mandalore. This whole potential conflict that we might have between Bo-Katan and Mando, with that dark saber and everything. And I don't know that we're gonna see um, Grogu and Mando reuniting in this season. Um, maybe not yet. But yeah, that would be my prediction.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like the time jump idea. I think, like you said, the first two seasons kind of wrap up a story. And
Right,
it's like, okay,
right.
now they're going to like if we picked up right where we left off. There's a whole lot going on, but if you kind of jump in the future, then you can kind of fill in the gaps. Maybe they're already on
Yeah,
Mandalore, but I think the reuniting of Grogu and Din, maybe even a season finale next season.
could be.
Like I don't know if they'll
Hmm.
stretch it that long or a mid-season. It's not going to be right away. And if they did a time jump, this is just something that just came to my mind. I think it'd be awesome if they had Mark Hamill do the voice of Grogu because he spent the time with Luke, and Mark does voice acting, and so that would be kind of
Hmm.
cool. Is
That'd be
like we
cool.
see him, he'd be a little older.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah, I could see that.
He talks now.
Yeah.
He
definitely.
talks now. He talks now. And
Hmm.
so anyway, that just kind of came to my mind. But yeah, I think we're going to focus on Mandalore and all. I mean, they've obviously set that up. He's got the saber. You've got to answer that. You've got Moff Gideon, and he said he's going to be in the next season, and maybe we're going to have even
Hmm.
more of him. And Cardoon was talking about, he's got so much knowledge and information. There's a lot,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
cloning. What did they do with his blood? Who's there? There may be a bigger bad guy at this point. They always do that,
Could
the
be.
bigger bad.
I think that line bringing
Hmm.
order
Hmm.
back to the galaxy. I think that kind of tells us that the idea is, for me. I read that line as the idea is this is the first steps in bringing Palpatine back.
Yep.
In the First Order. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. That too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that's
could
all
see
I've
the
got.
beginnings of the First Order, possibly. Yeah. Any other predictions? All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for our Mandalorian season 2 finale episode, The Rescue. And we are ready to head into our next segment, Clone Wars for the first timers.